Herra ráðgjafar, herra, takk fyrir að bjóða mér í dag. Ég tala alveg íslensku en ég ætla að svissa yfir á ensku. Það er mikið meira svona þægilegt and I've heard that I sound smarter this way, so I'm just going to keep with it. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Canadian. I grew up on the west coast of British Columbia. I grew up in the rainforest, surrounded by whales and tourists. I worked quite a bit in tourism while I was growing up, and then when I was about 17, my parents asked me, what do you want to do with your life? And I said, I don't know, learn French. And within a week, I had a one-way ticket to Montreal, $400, and I had to figure out what I was doing. So strategizing is something that's not very new to me, and strategizing about becoming part of a team has been really a lot of sort of things I needed to do in my life. And during this time, it reminded me of someone who I've kind of looked up to in sort of the thought of business. And this is, for those of you who don't know, Henry Ford, who is the title of my discussion today. If everyone is moving forward together, then success takes care of itself. A lot about what Henry Ford did was a very hybrid way of thinking about team and strategy, and that you needed them both. So he really knew where he wanted to go as an inventor, and he used a strategy to get there. So the strategy that he used was not inventing the assembly line, but making changes so it was more innovative for the car industry. One of the interesting things people often don't know is this idea that's credited to him actually came from one of his employees, a member of his team. Once the assembly line was sort of modernized, he had a lot of staff turnover because it was a really boring job. And so he realized the importance of making a team happy, and building this very strong team would be very vital to his success. One of the things he did is he introduced the $5 a day initiative, and it worked. He got everybody wanting to be a part of the Ford team. He built his team through all types of methods. Some of them are questionable, some of them are totally irrelevant today, but I think what sort of is very respectable is that he realized that you need both strategy and team, and you need them to be quality if you want to ensure your success. At Hybrid Hospitality, this is kind of a calculation that we work with as well. Team and strategy are very important, but they must be multiplied by quality, and then success will come. If you have very strong ground in those two areas, success will come. So part one, strategy for the company. This is not something I'm going to go over really in detail because I think everyone here sort of has been through a lot of business planning meetings, things like this, but it's a little bit about how important the strategy is to make your company successful and doing your homework. So you need to create and publish your vision and your mission statement and make sure it's clear to everyone. This is the way that you communicate to your clients who the company is, to your employees, what company they're working for, to stakeholders, to customers, as well as to your community. The vision, again, same audience, but it tells everyone where you're going. What I think is really important is using the mission statement as a guide to create a strategy, and then making sure that you take the steps to implement your strategy once you've done it. And implementing is a very big word these days that is kind of catching on. A lot of businesses have great plans, but they fail when they lack to implement the plans and implement it throughout their entire team. I think one of the things that sort of is very important to mention as well is that a strategy is not something that's set in rock, and it never should be. It's something that should be constantly changing, constantly moving forward and bringing your business forward. Because if you're not being successful, maybe you need to relook at your strategy or see where you're going. So the part I wanted to go into a little bit of detail with today was strategy for the team. This connects very much to when we had the Boston Consulting Group come here last year and talk about the growth in tourism that we are facing. And we need qualified employees. They're not just going to show up. It's a small country. We have a workforce that is what it is. We need to start taking steps and building teams and making sure that the workforce is quality, not by chance, not by luck, but because we build it that way. Often, companies that I work with will have a great strategy and a great business plan, and they will actually say that it would be great if my team could just get it together. This kind of statement indicates to me that you probably don't have a team, or the team doesn't have clear guidelines of what's expected from them when they're working for your company. It's important to define the roles, build the team, train the team, and clarify a strategy for the team. Defining the roles is very important, and I think it was touched on before. Have an organizational chart and really make sure that employees know what their role is in your company. Not what their job description is, not what you expect of them on a day-to-day, but what role do they play in your company? Make sure they know how important they are to the success of your company. Building a team, I think this is really important, that we kind of assess the people that you may have working for you, assess people in the market, as well as hire for attitude and hire for the type of team that you want to have. Making sure that you set clear expectations about their performance, as well as that you review it and you hold your team accountable. If you set out clear expectations, it's easy to hold people accountable to them. Training the team. This is very important, and I think Ingebjörg touched upon it, that, you know, I worked for Radisson Blu for a long time. I've also worked for a few other chains, and training, checklists, fallback plans, very important. I think that it's also something that can be recorded and looked upon regularly to see if it's still relevant and if you need to change. And finally, sort of clarify the strategy for the team. Make sure that you're checking progress at regular intervals. Make sure that you have the staff engaged in setting the activities behind the strategy, because that's the easiest way that you're going to get your staff to buy into the strategy, and that's very important. A staff needs to be connected and involved in where the company is going, and it's exactly how you train them and how you build your team that you will be successful in this. So just to recap, part one, strategy for the company. And part two, make sure that you have a clear strategy for your team. And use a management style that really is walk around. Make sure that your team knows exactly that you're there, you understand their position, you understand the stress of their work, and that you're there to be their team member, no matter what level in the company that you are with. That's it. Thank you.